Sound speeds, and welcome back to the Speed Bumps Podcast. What is this, episode 25? Starting to lose count. Look down in the title of this episode, and you will see exactly what number it is, if it is different than what I said. And if it is, I'm not trying to give you misinformation. I am simply trying to tell you things from memory, which is a problem, because as I get older, my memory is getting worse and worse. So if I continue to do sound speeds for the next 30 or 40 years, who knows what in the world I'm going to be teaching at that point. I'll probably be teaching you old school techniques that don't apply anymore because you're able to take something the size of a quarter, hold it up, and pick up sound exactly down the barrel on axis, and they can put it on the front of a camera, and all sound people are completely, I don't want to, whatever. Okay, let's not speculate. It's going to basically, sound is a job that requires skill. You don't want to trust camera people with that. It would be the same kind of thing as, Adobe Podcast AI is right now. They're training AI to be better, but as of episode 20 of the Speed Bumps Podcast, I tried to see if there was a way for me to use post-processing. I took the audio from the episode, I cleaned it up a little bit, I put it in Adobe Podcast AI, let it automate my voice, and then I put it out there, but to me in post, it sounded like total crap. And in the comments, people said it sounded like crap. As a matter of fact, you can see in the analytics for that episode, it completely fell apart. People did not like that episode at all. The watch time went down, the total view time went down. People weren't liking it. There was great information in that episode. As long as if you didn't listen to the whole thing, here's the thing: turn down the volume a little bit. You'll hear less modulation, even though you can barely hear it. Or just watch it with subtitles on, and it's going to be so much better. You can at least get the information, because there's some good episode in every episode of the Speed Bumps Podcast. But in short, what I learned from that is that, can Adobe Podcast AI audio be corrected and sound less digital? As of right now, no. It's going to sound the way it is. It's going to sound robotic or whatever. So you just got to do a better sample, a better AI, whatever. So anyway, let's get into our first topic. The first topic is an interesting one. ASMR, Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. Here's the thing about ASMR. It basically works for some people. For other people, it doesn't. For other people, it becomes an irritant and really irritates you. Why is this? Basically, inside your body, you have two different types of nervous system. You have an involuntary nervous system and you have a voluntary nervous system. A voluntary nervous system is, I want to raise up my left arm, I want to open my left hand, I want to grab the steering wheel, close my hand, all that kind of stuff is me voluntarily telling my nerves from my brain, do this and to perform this action. But there are other things that you do that are not voluntary, that you don't control. Your system automatically takes place. Just like how there are processes automatically running in the Matrix, you don't have to think about breathing, for the most part. Some people do. You don't have to think about blinking. Most people don't usually. You don't have to worry about digestion. Your body will do it automatically. There are things that you naturally do that your body's process, basically this core functionality of your body, is able to handle. Some people will have issues with doing some things. They may need a little bit of help breathing because they don't get a proper amount of oxygen, because they don't take a deep breath, or maybe their lungs are under capacity or something like that. And there's reasons. I'm not trying to make it sound like everyone is the exact same. God knows we're not. But here's the thing. In the same kind of sense as that, where there's a voluntary system and there's an involuntary nervous system, if I get right up to your ear and whisper into your ear, what happens to the sound? Increase in proximity effect. You're going to hear the bass of my voice so much more prominently. Every bit of the mids and highs and the crispiness and the pops and mouth clicks and stuff is going to be so highly noticeable that it's going to drive you maybe crazy. Other people say it works, just that it sounds, fine. It's very pleasant to have someone whisper in their ear. Personally, to me, one of the most annoying sounds in the world, and this was said to me, and I said, actually, you're right. One of the most annoying sounds in the world is to sit in a quiet room and listen to your grandfather eat a sandwich. That is the most noisy whatever thing. It drives me crazy. And I had that mistake happen. I'm like, in retrospect, I would actually love to hear my grandfather eat a sandwich again, because it would mean he's still alive. Let's not get morbid, though. Okay, but you see where I'm going with this. A child, one of my children, for example, comes up and whispers in my ear. As a baby, they're trying to formulate their thoughts. They're able to formulate their words. They're doing all these mouth pops and clicks right in your ear, and it drives me insane. And it makes me just cringe, and the goose goosebumps and the hair follicles stand up on end as I'm frustrated. And I'm like, get the words out, please, child. But then they take a little while and they formulate everything. And that will drive me nuts. Acoustics, the way it works, at least with regards to the human voice, we can put out lows and mids and highs. The highs are very directional. The mids are a little bit less so. They're a little spread out a little bit wider cone. And then the bass frequencies basically radiate omnidirectionally from your chest. The reason why is because if you have your throat creating a vibration between about usually 75 hertz to 225 hertz if you're a male. For a woman, it's usually closer to 100 to 300 hertz. And then based on the thickness of the vocal folds in your throat, the length of it, it will be lower or higher pitched. And that vibration can only happen a certain number of times per second. Through harmonics and overtones, you're able to create speech in a more intelligible area of this. If frequencies that you're able to hear more, which are the higher frequencies that we hear easier. The lower, deeper bass sounds that radiate from the chest, those go omnidirectional. And here's the thing. If I open my mouth and just try to make you understand what I'm saying, are you understanding what I'm saying is what I said. But I did not close my mouth. And because I didn't close my mouth, I was not able to add stops into the vibrations created and use my teeth, tongue, lips, all this, to shape the sound as it comes out of my mouth. And through harmonics and overtones and the way that mids and highs come out, I'm able to shape the sound into things that your brain is able to decode. So if your brain is able to decode those sounds, it is able to make words out of them. People articulate in different countries and emphasize different words, different syllables. Even if we say the same exact words, it sounds different from an Australian to an American to a Canadian to an English person. Everybody speaks it. And if you speak to someone from Nigeria that speaks English, it sounds different than a Japanese person that speaks English because your native tongue will emphasize certain frequencies and certain sounds better than others. And therefore, when you try to learn English as a second language, your tongue will still kind of resort back to the training from your native language. So that's part of the way it works. The reason why I'm setting this up for you is because if you are close to my ear and you whisper, I'm hearing the bass because it doesn't have much distance to travel. If I put the same power into my voice at all frequencies to try to raise it up, the bass is basically radiating out from my chest, and it takes more power to shove it omnidirectionally so it doesn't travel as far. The mids are going on a cone like this, and the directional highs are going to go in a very much a straight line to wherever they're trying to go. So if you're putting all the highs, all the pressure and the sound into one little bitty direction, and that's where I'm shooting the highs in my voice, if I turn my head off axis, you're not able to hear them nearly as well, but you're able to hear the bass frequencies just as well. I have a video on off axis versus farther away. You should watch that video. It's listed right up there on the screen right now. I'll put a link down at the end of this video too. Okay, without going down too many more rabbit holes, if you get close to a sound reproduction system like your lips or speakers, you will hear the bass more because it will dissipate as it starts to go farther away. On a speaker, it's going to be amplified more with more increased bass because you put more wattage into the bass frequencies to send them out farther. It's the way that acoustics works. Okay, so now that we've specified that, your ears and brain have the ability to hear where things are spatially around you, provided that you have two ears, and you're able to basically hear spatially where you are around you, which normally is a pretty automatic process. Some people, again, they don't have that ability. But if I close my eyes, which I'm not going to do because I'm driving, and I hear a sound, I will know it's coming from that direction. Why? Because the pinna of your pinna of your ear is basically shaping and pulling in sound from basically a cardioid direction. If it comes from this side more so than this side, I will hear it more because this ear picks it up quicker than this one. My brain does the calculation and says it's approximately that much. The way you're able to use two ears to hear behind you is because you know the way that your ears will naturally muffle sound. So if it gets too far behind you, your ear, the pinna of your ear will naturally start to block out and muffle certain sounds behind you. And you'll say, your brain will do the calculation and say, that muffled sound, I know what that should sound like, and it sounds slightly muffled, therefore it's coming from behind you. That's part of the way it works, even though technically you only have two little bitty holes right there. If you were to cut off your ears, you would have a lot more difficult time determining which direction sounds are coming from. Don't cut off your ears. Not suggesting you do that. Don't do that at all. It's bad. Bad, bad, bad. Okay, now we've kind of established the way you hear. Let's talk about ASMR. ASMR is basically engaging and making your involuntary nervous system have some sort of an effect. The reason it doesn't work on some people is because you can get up and whisper in their ear and they're probably not going to get triggered by it. They're probably not going to be bothered by it. They're probably not going to care. They're just going to hear it as a whisper. If you get up next to my ear and you start whispering very closely, I understand by hearing the proximity effect and the proximity and the detail of someone's voice, I know that sound is very close to me and it's irritating to hear it that detailed and that close. Some people will feel that it pushes their closeness. They don't want to be there. It starts to make them feel claustrophobic, and they say, "You got to give me a little bit of air. I feel like you're trying to, you're pressuring me too much." Some people actually feel like a wall is closing in on them if someone's too close. If you do that to someone that has that reaction, and you give them ASMR, they may feel a very bad, harsh reaction because they're able to feel that as more of an involuntary response that makes them feel very, very bad. It gives them a negative effect. Some people don't mind hearing a whisper in their ear from a lover or whisper in their ear from their children, and they love that sound, in which case ASMR very well may work for you. There may be certain sounds that you find to be very pleasant when you hear them in a very quiet room and you listen to it with your eyes closed or you look at it. Another aspect of ASMR that people don't usually talk about, but I'm going to be blunt with you because this is the God's honest truth of it. A lot of the practitioners of ASMR either have some sort of an interesting look or they're very pleasing to the eyes. Easy on the eyes is what my mom would say. And so that means it's going to be some young girl that's pretty. It's going to be a guy that has that's very fit and has a nice voice and might just give you a very calming and relaxing feeling. And their hands are very able to caress certain objects and do certain things. And you may get a little turned off by someone's appearance at first, male or female or whatever the case may be, whatever they identify as. You may like them or you may not like them, but if the feeling of closeness that you would have from that person doing some of these actions right in your ear will upset you, you're not going to like ASMR from that person. If that is a stimulation of some sort and your involuntary nervous system likes it, you are going to enjoy that sound. Plain and simple. That's the way that ASMR works. It basically tricks your involuntary nervous system into hearing sounds much closer sounding than they really deserve to be. And because of that, you have an involuntary nervous system response to that sound. So another big thing I'll tell you that they're selling, a lot of the time you'll see that some young pretty girl who's blonde with blue eyes or whatever is going to start up a YouTube channel and she does ASMR. It's a quiet environment. All she's doing is tapping her nails on stuff. That kind of thing drives me incredibly nuts. It really irritates me. But if someone does that kind of a thing and people are like, I like this, it makes them feel like they have an intimate moment with a young girl, which is disturbing in itself. If you are like in middle age or something like that, and you're like, yes, I like to have some teenage girl tapping in my ears and breathing and softly licking a microphone, which is just irritating as crap to me. That type of thing, I'm sorry, but in my opinion, you have problems if you like hearing somebody lick a microphone. That's a problem to me. I don't like it at all. I think it's really disturbing, really. But I mean, it's like, all right, fine, to each your own. Don't let me yuck your yum, as the phrase is. Don't let me tell you that something you like is bad, because everyone likes different things. But in a nutshell, in plain and simplest terms, ASMR, that's what it is. For our second topic in this episode, we're going to be talking about reliability. In the world of film, a sound mixer will hire a team, a boom operator, sound utility, sometimes additionals. Here's the thing. It all starts with being on time. You must be on time. Sound mixer must be there on time. Boom operator must be there on time. Sound utility must be there on time. Plain and simple. This is a job. You got to do your job right. Part of doing your job right is being on time. That's starting off. That's part of being reliable. That's part of it. If you're chronically late every single day, guess what? Leave earlier. It's part of what you got to do in order to do your job correctly. I'm sorry to say, if you're someone that's chronically tardy, you got to be there. When I first started doing this thing, one of the utilities in town, he was upset by the fact that I showed up 20 minutes before call time, because he liked to be there an hour before call time, and he told me, if you're not at least 45 minutes early in the sound department, you're late. Okay. Well, that may be well and good, but the fact of the matter was, I was already at catering at the time, hanging out, enjoying the air conditioner, because it was hot outside and the air conditioner was freezing. So I liked that. So I was just hanging out there. I was already there, And I still got to the sound cart, you know, well before call time. But I got a lecture. Here's the thing, though. You want to be reliable. Part of that means that if you accept a show that's going to be 6 months long, you are expected to be there every day unless you prearrange with the mixer that you will be leaving at a certain time, because let's just say you have another mixer, you have another show that lined you up early. You say, I'm sorry, but I need to bail on this show, 2 weeks early. Or I have another show that's starting up. I can start you. I can do the first 5 weeks, or I can do the first month, or whatever. The only show I've ever left early has been a show that, well, actually, there was 2 shows. I had a mixer. We were on a show. I'm not going to say what it is because it's gonna end up being, you're going to know instantly who it is. But I was on a show with the sound mixer. We had another show already lined up. We were on this show. It kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing to the point where it started to overlap the other show we were supposed to go to. The sound mixer said, I don't know how to make this work. I mean, do I have another team start the other show, the one that we've been on, you know, for multiple seasons? Or do we leave this show early, in which case I would like to be hired again by these guys in the future? And I said, okay, here's what you do. A lot of the times, like on the other show that we were going to be having to go to, but the one that was already booked for us, I said, well, why don't you send me and the sound utility to start the show? They know us. They know that we're going to be joining them as a team. I'm the boom operator. I'll run the set. The sound utility will basically run behind the scenes. The mixer will basically be someone that will be showing up later. They're going to finish out the previous show and then catch up. We'll all be together, but at least the boom operator and the sound utility is going to be there to establish the workflow and let everybody know that's what we're doing there, and that everything is good. Sound mixer will stay back on the previous show, so that way the producers over there say, oh, look, the mixer stayed because he loves us. And the mixer will make sure that the next team they hire to replace him, the boom operator and the sound utility that replaces me and the other utility that left, they're going to be maintaining the standards that were expected by that show. So that's going to be handled by the mixer. When the mixer finished that show, he joined us, and we continued forth as a team, and all was well and good. That's the way you basically handle that if that situation ever comes up. However, that was one of 2 times. The other time I was already, I was trying to book a show, and I said to the mixer, I would love to do a show with you. I've always wanted to work on something with you, but this show can't pay my rate. I'm sorry to say, if they don't pay my rate, they don't buy my staying power. If that means you're not going to hire me, so be it. That's fine. I understand. But the mixer said, you know what? I would love to actually work with you. I would love to actually have you as long as you're willing to stay. At the end of the first week, I was called and offered a 6-month-long show that was paying my rate and paying me a full kit. So I said, on Monday, I said, I'm sorry to have to say this, but I'm going to put in a 2-week resignation. So I put in a 2-week resignation. The mixer already knew. And he smiled at me and said, okay, we're going to have a great 2 weeks, just like we had a great last week. And that was great. I love that attitude. Those are the only 2 shows I've ever left early. The first time it was because we needed to do it to appease a show that was established on with this team, and the new show that we were trying to make them taken care of, so that way they would want to hire us again. That was the only season I ever did of that show, by the way. So, but anyway, so when it comes down to it, I have a policy. You never leave a show early. Now, if it's prearranged, that's one thing. If you say, I'm already booked on a show, or you say, I have to be home for my child's wedding on this weekend, and that's the show, the wedding is on Saturday, and you have to fly back on Friday to be there on Saturday morning for the wedding, and so you have to miss Friday, and it's the last day of the show. Understandable. That's prearranged in advance. That kind of thing is okay. But to just take a personal health day, this is where Generation X really comes into play, because we were the kind of people, the baby boomers and the people before us, were very much sticklers about, you got a job, you stick with it, you do it. You didn't need to have personal days and whatever else. That means that if you start taking days off for personal reasons, I need to have a mental health day. Here's the thing. It used to be you'd have to go there, you'd have to work hard to get a job, you have to stick with it. This day and age, there's a lot of the younger generation, and I don't want to make it sound like a generational thing, that just seem to come out of film school. They step right into a technical position. They step right on set. They're starting to make better wages. They start to do the same kind of thing that established pros are doing and have it much easier on set than we ever did. Like, one thing is, it was 100 degrees on set every single day when I started doing this thing. Unless it was like freezing because you were doing exteriors in the sub-freezing weather. But on a set, we had such hot lights that it was hot every single day. Then we started using Kinos and it became less hot. Now we use LED fixtures almost all the time, and temperatures are 70 degrees on set when it used to be 100. And yet the younger generation complains, oh my gosh, you can't breathe in here, it's so bad. can we bring in air conditioning tubes? It's like, it's 70 degrees, you're out of the sun. Why are you complaining? Same kind of thing goes on to, I need a mental health day. If this is you, please listen, because your sound mixer hired you to do a job. If you need to have personal time off or downtime between shows, take it then. Take it during the weekend. Take it during any holiday that happens to be when the show is down, and the show is dark because of an actor, has a non-availability or something like that. They have another commitment, something like that. The mixer hires you. They expect you to be there every single day. Be there. Absolutely every single day. You establish yourself as someone that they can count on you and expect you to be there every single day. You do a good job. You're reliable. You don't sit on your phone all day. You're caring about your work. You will be hired back multiple times. That word will get around. You'll be hired by multiple people, especially if you're of a Generation Z or maybe a very young millennial, something like that, and you're out there, trying to get work on set and people are hiring you. You have really good old school practices. A lot of people are going to take that very seriously, and people are going to like that and appreciate that. Absolutely, be reliable on set every single day. Reliability is key to performing in the sound department and basically in every other facet of life. So there you have it, another episode of the Speed Bumps podcast in the can. My wife tells people, or at least told me one time, she said it with a laugh, even though I knew she was telling the truth. She said, you don't talk to people, you talk at people. Sorry, I've been talking at you. But that is, unfortunately, me and my nature. And so if you feel like I talk at you, sorry. But hopefully you get good information out of these podcasts. Make sure that you tune in for 2 weeks if you were interested. If you want to do the voiceover and the outro, follow the description or follow the directions in the description, and you will be able to be part of the outro of the podcast. Follow the directions. I'm a big stickler about the directions. You got to do it. Anyway, thank you, and I'll see you in 2 weeks with another episode.
If you'd like to ask a sound-related question to be answered in a future episode, send text, audio, or video to ssp@soundspeeds.us. Want to record this outro? Details in the description below. Find us on social media and online at www.soundspeeds.us. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more sound-related content.